ain't. Told you I ain't taking pictures of you.
You girls stay away from him.
Come here, Kiri.
His own godmother is purportedly attempting to have sex with him in leaked audio and video that has gone viral, and the entire hip-hop community is complaining about this predatory behavior. The shocking reality of YoungBoy's personal life is more sinister than anyone could have predicted, and we're going to dissect every element that's now making the internet go crazy. We're going to go deeply into some unsettling familial relationships that have been appending the rap game, and by the end of this story, you won't be able to speak. Now, let me be really honest with you all before we get into this crazy circumstance. NBA YoungBoy's godmother has been the subject of long-running rumors, but these recently leaked audio and video recordings have elevated the situation to a whole new level. YoungBoy's real identity, Kentrell Gaulden, began this whole disaster as a disturbed young man in Baton Rouge, attempting to make it through one of the most hazardous areas in the country. At that point, Kyrie Oliver, his godmother, came into his life as a guide. We are discussing claims of improper relationships, grooming, and power dynamics that will make your skin crawl. This is where things get very hot though. For years, YoungBoy has been hinting at this circumstance in his songs. Check it out, then. Allow me to explain the origins of this strange relationship. Kyrie Oliver was a counselor for the Marine Corps program at Baton Rouge Capital Middle School in the early 2000s. Mentoring at-risk youngsters was her responsibility. Children who are suffering in school, children who live in poverty, and children who are at danger of becoming homeless. YoungBoy grew up in North Baton Rouge, which is literally a battle zone, not a cap. Gangs were recruiting young males before they reached puberty. Fathers were either dead or imprisoned. Children like Kentrell were slipping between the cracks as mothers battled to live. Carlin was a 6th grader when Kyrie, then 24 years old, was given the responsibility of working with them. Anger and trauma were already evident in the child, which would eventually inspire his music. Here's the genuine tea though. At that time, Sharonda YoungBoy's mother wasn't particularly involved. While coping with her baby daddy Jeffrey Tate's 55-year prison sentence for armed robbery and attempted murder, she was a young woman attempting to make sense of her own life. Therefore, it must have felt like a blessing when Kyrie offered to mentor. Others failed to recognize his potential, but she did. Teachers were dismissing him as just another statistic, but Kyrie thought he might be more. Even after the Marine Corps training ended, Kyrie continued to be a part of Kentrell's life. She kept mentoring him, and in her own words, she supported him when he had no one else. However, this is where the narrative delves deeper than a simple mentor-student dynamic. Numerous accounts state that Kyrie eventually became Kentrell's godmother since she got so involved in his life. This was no longer merely professional. It was meant to be family. Let me now explain something crucial. A strong emotional attachment is formed when an adult shows that level of interest in a child, particularly one who has experienced neglect or abandonment. That child starts to rely on that adult for affection, support, and approval. Additionally, if the adult has malicious intent, such dependence may be abused. We must first discuss YoungBoy's grandmother, Alice Gaulden, who was his everything before we can completely comprehend Kyrie's position. Because when YoungBoy had no one, Kyrie didn't step in. When he got his grandmother, she took over, and no one was able to fill the emptiness left by his grandmother's death. My grandmother meant everything to me. Stated in interviews by Young, that was my defense, my solace, and my guardian. Kentrell's haven was Alice Gaulden's home. When there was a lot of violence in the streets outside, the only place he felt secure and loved was inside her house. NBA YoungBoy lost the only person who had ever shown him genuine affection when Alice Gaulden passed away in 2017 or 2018. I ain't never felt that feeling again after she passed away, YoungBoy remarked, alluding to the sensation of genuine love. The significance and dubiousness of Kyrie's role increase at this point. Sources claim that Kyrie supported YoungBoy through one of the most trying times in his life. Kyrie took over when Alice Gaulden passed away, and YoungBoy was struggling with bereavement and legal issues. Kyrie allegedly assisted in setting up YoungBoy's 2-year house arrest in Utah. This was quite significant. YoungBoy was able to concentrate on his music and develop his career while under house arrest in Utah. Far from the carnage in Baton Rouge, let's now discuss what is actually upsetting fans. The leaked video reveals dubious exchanges between Kyrie and YoungBoy. These films show them lounging in what looks to be a bedroom, with her lying on the bed and showing signs of extreme comfort for someone who is meant to be a mother figure. However, her statement, "All y'all girls stay away from him," while staring straight into the camera, was the one that truly had fans talking. Avoid him, you females. Take a moment to process it, family. As if to establish her territory, why would a godmother advise other women to avoid her godson? She didn't sound like a motherly figure when she said it. The entire atmosphere, including the tone and body language, seemed more akin to a woman asserting her dominance over a guy. It becomes unsettling when you take into account that she is meant to be his godmother, someone who knew him as a little boy. Conversations between them that sound more like intimate partners than godmother and godson can be heard in other released audio. It has a flirty tone, the general atmosphere is entirely incorrect, and the conversation topics are unsuitable. This is where it becomes much more unsettling. Though, NBA YoungBoy released the song, I'm Bored in 2020, and he stated something in that song that caused everyone to recoil. My godmother wants to sleep with me, he literally said. When I initially heard that remark, I had to repeat it because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I thought I was your child. This is NBA YoungBoy openly declaring that his godmother, who was meant to be his protector, desired a sexual relationship with him. YoungBoy doesn't sugarcoat anything. As anyone familiar with his music would attest, he shares his experiences in a very honest manner. Therefore, he doesn't say things like this for shock value. It is grounded in actual experiences. The second section is equally crucial. I mistakenly believed I was your child. That is a betrayed, confused, and hurtful statement. He's stating, you were supposed to be my family, and now you want something from me that you should never want. Some admirers speculate that as YoungBoy got wealthy and well-known, Kyrie's sentiments for him altered. She was his mentor when he was only a broke boy named Cantrell. Perhaps her perception of him changed after he became NBA YoungBoy, the millionaire rapper. As if this weren't weird enough, Kyrie recently had the name of NBA YoungBoy permanently inked on her body. The internet went bananas when fans learnt about it. Why would a godmother get her godson's name permanently inked? This was no insignificant homage. She was proud to display this noticeable tattoo. A level of attachment that surpasses typical godparent relationships is suggested by the tattoo. When paired with YoungBoy's overt declaration in his songs, it depicts a woman who stepped over lines that ought to never be crossed. What really got folks talking though is this. Sharonda, YoungBoy's mother, made fun of Kyrie on Instagram. Sharonda wrote, "Where was I when other people were raising my kids?" Following Kyrie's interview in which she discussed taking over YoungBoy's life due to the absence of his mother, every story has two sides. Keep your ass from being humbled by me. The final sentence, don't make me humble your ass, sounds like a threat to reveal anything about Kyrie. What information is Sharonda withholding? What knowledge does she possess that can harm Kyrie's standing? The larger image, it's not just about NBA YoungBoy and his godmother. This has to do with exploitation and power relations. There is an inherent power imbalance that can be abused when adults hold positions of authority over youngsters. Young talent has always been used by adults in the entertainment industry because they are thirsty for success and are prepared to put up with unethical behavior if they believe it will advance their careers. Young artists from poverty are especially vulnerable. YoungBoy was born out of nothing. He most likely felt appreciative and obligated to Kyrie for her guidance and assistance. He would have found himself in a very challenging situation if she had started to feel inappropriately. When you had nothing, how can you turn down someone who helped you? The way society handles male victims is the true issue that needs to be discussed. It's common for people to not take a young man's involvement with an older woman seriously. They joke about it and pretend it doesn't matter. However, everyone would see it as wrong and predatory if the genders were switched. YoungBoy's lyrics express bewilderment, betrayal, and a call for assistance. Every relationship that follows is impacted by the long-lasting trauma that occurs when someone who is meant to protect you turns into someone you need protection against. The only time I ever feel love is when I walk on stage, YoungBoy once remarked. And that's among the most depressing things someone can say. The only person who truly loved him, his grandmother, passed away. And it is said that the person who was meant to replace that person betrayed his confidence. The fact that YoungBoy continues to communicate with Kyrie, in spite of everything, shows how deeply ingrained the psychological manipulation is. Grooming victims frequently find it difficult to break off contact with their abusers, particularly if they also provided support during their vulnerable periods. In the end, inappropriate connections aren't the only issue in young male situations. For a young man who has endured more than most people go through in a lifetime, it is about trust, betrayal, and long-lasting pain. Although Kyrie may have assisted him in certain ways, YoungBoy will always bear the consequences of her assistance if she betrayed his confidence and crossed limits. We can tell with certainty that NBA YoungBoy was deserving of better. He deserved to be safeguarded by adults who did not demand anything in return. He was worthy of mentors who set proper limits. When he tells us something went wrong, we as supporters must believe him. When male victims speak up, we must believe them. And when adults misuse their power, we must hold them responsible. How do you feel about this situation? Do you believe Kyrie went too far? What do you suppose Sharonda is concealing from you? We'll continue to provide you with the true tales behind your favorite musicians. So please share your opinions in the comments and remember to subscribe. Peace, family.